Hey guys, it's James. Listen, welcome to this week's training where we're going to talk about bulletproof messaging. Now, listen, a couple of things. The download is going to be in the chat if this works the way it's supposed to. Boom, there it goes. So you should see the download link in the chat. If you're watching it live, if you're here with me, just put live in the comments, please. But if you're watching it on replay, which most of you will, then put replay. And what I'd love for you to do as we go through this training is just pop in any questions you might have into the comment section, and I will answer them in the comment section. See, this stuff's really easy, really easy. All right, so listen, let's talk about why we're doing this bulletproof messaging. Messaging is one of the core parts of what we call your whole core system, right? And we'll be going through that in a little second. But it's also one of those things that in order to create really good messaging, you've got to have a really deep understanding of a number of different things. And how you put your message together, right, is absolutely critical. And knowing that there's actually a sequence or a methodology to doing this is also, critical. So I thought that what we'd do is we'd spend maybe 10 or 15 minutes together on this training. I'll walk you through what we know. I'll walk you through how we use it. I'm going to show you a really cool thing called a script sheet. I didn't design this, but it's a great way of pulling all your information together so you can actually create unlimited messaging. So you guys all good to go, right? So let's kind of kick this off. I always have to remember to share the screen because last time I did this, I didn't share my screen and it didn't work out so well. Right, so let's kick off. Bulletproof messaging. Now, as always, and you'll see how all this kind of comes together if you've been watching these trainings. If you've been watching the trainings over the last kind of 3 or 4 weeks, you know that what we're trying to do is to walk you through what we call this core messaging system, right? And the core messaging system, 4 really big pieces that if you haven't got dialed in, then it's not going to matter what strategy or tactic you're using in your business. They're just not going to have the effect that you guys want them to have. So when we talk about core messaging, there's 4 components to this that you've really got to work on and you've really got to dial in. The first one is, right, your niche or your ideal client. If you don't know who your niche is, and if you don't know who your ideal client is or what they look like or how they behave, then you're never going to be able to get anything out of your marketing, right? It's just going to fall on deaf ears. The other part of this is what we call your blue ocean. Now, your blue ocean, guys, this is your differentiation. This is what separates you from everybody else, right? Everybody looks the same, smells the same, speaks the same. You've got to figure out a way of separating yourself from the masses and putting yourself into this blue ocean. The other part is what we call your model and your offer. Now, this is simply how are you going to market? What are you delivering? Right? And have you created behind that what we call this this great offer, something that just can't be ignored, right? The 4th piece of this is what we're working on right now, and that's going to be what we call your unique, right, messaging, or in this case, bulletproof messaging, because what we want to do is to give you a system that allows you to actually create as many messages as you possibly want. Unlimited messaging in your marketing system, right? Just by following a few simple rules and understanding how things come together. Now, before we get into the messaging piece, right? Before we get into how all this works, there's something that I really want you guys to understand and dial in on, and it's this. So we've all heard of, Pareto analysis, right? The 80-20 rule. 80% of your business comes from 20% of your clients, right? right? 80% of your results comes from 20% of the work that you do. So we all understand the 80-20 rule. But what I really want you to think about is this thing called the 96-4, right? The 96-4, that is horrible. Hold on. Yeah, we're not doing that. 96-4. So what we want to do is to get the 20% of the 20%, right? Because that's kind of where the magic happens. And if you don't, and this is your niche, right? If we don't understand where we're going, and we want you working in here, right? In here. So we want you picking at the 20% of the 20%. And there's really two big things in here that you've got to consider, right? What that 20% of 20% looks like. Two things that you want to think about. One, we want to go after underserved markets. Why? Well, because if a market is underserved, right? If a market's underserved, then that then becomes your blue ocean. It means that there's uncontested market space. It means that there's not many, if any, people in that space, right? And that working. When we decided to do what we are doing, which is we're really focused on new coaches, new businesses, right? People who have literally just started. We want to help them build that marketing foundation to get them to that 10K a month run rate. Most people in our business are dealing with people who are already at multiple six figures or even trying to get to 7. But no one wants to deal with the people that we want to deal with, or very few, right? So we look at that's the people that we want to help. We want to help people who are just at the start of their journey get to at least that 10K a month run rate. And then if they want to go someplace else and get more help, then they can do that, right? So is it underserved? Absolutely, right? Absolutely underserved. Now, the second thing you want to be looking at is, are they affluent, right? Are they affluent? Now, affluence, a kind of term, the affluence means different things to different people. And what we know is people who are starting their business probably have a certain amount of runway in terms of finance in order to get their business up and running, get it moving, get traction. If it's people who are coming out of corporate who are perfect for what we want to do, who are coming out of corporate, starting their own coaching consulting business, then perfect, right? But the thing is, you're not selling a $27 widget. If you're a coach or a consultant, you're probably selling a $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 coaching program. So we want to make sure that this underserved market also has the financial means to take our services, right? So really, really important that when you're looking at your niche, that you understand that those are the two things that we want to do, right? We want to create our blue ocean through the underserved market, but we also want to make sure that people have the financial wherewithal to engage your services. Now, why am I telling you this when I want to talk about messaging? It's this. Your niche or your ideal client, as we said in the last training, that controls everything. It controls your price, your messaging, your product, your service, your support, everything comes down, filters down from your ideal client, guys, right? Or your niche. So if you don't have clarity around that, and if you don't know who you're serving or why, then how are you going to construct messaging around this, right? How are you going to construct message? So that's the first thing. Now, you've probably seen this before, but it's worth going over. There are 4 psychological drivers that's going to drive your prospect, right? Or at least is going to, there's 4 psychological drivers that are going to be in congruence with your prospect. And what you've got to do is you have to be able to develop this deep empathy, right? You've got to have deep empathy with your prospect. So again, understanding your niche and ideal client, if you can relate to them and you understand what they're going through, then this is where this comes in. So there's really 4 pieces to this, right? First of all, right, we've got the frustrations, right? We have frustrations. Then we have fears, we have wants, and we have aspirations. Now, at any point in time, your prospects are in one of these boxes. They're thinking about these things. And typically, when we look at frustrations and fears, right, these are things that they want to get away from. They want to get away from this. With wants and aspirations, right, typically what they're doing is they want to go towards that. Their frustrations are things that they're going through now, or frustrations and wants, or what they want to get to like now in the immediate future. But then we do have the true future, which is their fears and aspirations. These are things that they're thinking about down the line. So the way this would work was, a frustration might be for your prospect, hey, you know what, maybe I'm struggling to get some leads, or maybe I've got a cash flow problem. That's a frustration for me. My fear is that if I don't fix this problem, I'm going to go out of business. That's going to be the fear. The want of that frustration is I want to have a system for generating consistent leads every day, every week, every month. Right? My aspiration is going to be something bigger in the future, which might be I want to create a business that creates for me the perfect kind of work-life balance that I want, right? Meaning, money, freedom. That's the big 3. Your job is to understand what these look like, right? Your job is to understand what all this looks like. If you watched any of the last videos, and if you haven't, I'm going to suggest you go down somewhere and actually go into guides. They're also sitting in guides. But if you look at niche, for instance, right, nailing your niche or looking at your ideal client, we go through the 4 forces in some detail. And we'll do a really deep dive in this in the Accelerate program where all this is coming from. Right. So we've looked at a little bit about the niche, right? You're 20% of the 20%. We've spoke about the 4 forces. This script sheet, and I'm going to suggest you just print off like a dozen of these damn things. These were actually developed by a guy called Roland Fraser, guy's a superstar at this. I've modified it slightly because I wanted to make it simpler. His one is pretty complicated. This just keeps it really simple. So what are we looking at, right? Well, first of all, your avatar, right? So who is your avatar? Get really clear. Get really clear. Every one of your prospects has challenges, right? Every one of them has challenges. So if we can just start to highlight all the challenges that our prospects are going through and capture them here. Now, there's also the false problem. Your prospects think a problem is a problem, and in fact, the problem is something that's sitting way back. So I can tell you that the false problem, for a lot of our clients is, I'm just having a problem, is lead generation, is how do I generate enough leads in my business? And I'm like, that's a false problem. You think that's a problem, but it's not. Your problem is you don't have a marketing foundation. Your problem is you're not clear on your ideal client, or your messaging isn't dialed in, or your blue ocean isn't dialed in. So it's not that you can't generate leads. That's a symptom of something that's happening further back in the business, right? So you need to understand in your prospect, what are they identifying as a problem that is false, right? What are they identifying, right? And we're going to capture these in here. What is the false solution? Again, for a false problem, there are false solutions, right? So people who are having a problem with lead generation, the false solution for them is, I'm just going to work harder. I'm going to go to more networking events. I'm going to write more blogs. I'm going to increase the number of podcastings that I'm doing, or whatever it might be. But the false solution typically is, I'm just going to apply more effort. And if I apply more effort, I'm going to get a better result. But that's not what happens at all. In fact, it rarely happens. So What we want to do is you want to make sure that you're identifying the false problem that your prospect thinks they have and what is the solution they're applying to that you know is the wrong solution. Now, there's other parts to this, right? We can talk about affecting their action. What's going to happen in a positive way if they take an action? The right action, the action that you want them to take. Like, what is that going to look like? And we want to capture that. Likewise, there's a negative, right? So we want to say, well, what if you don't do this? What are all the negative things that could happen to you or your business? And we want to capture that. Now, I know we're running through this really quickly, guys, but it's really important that you understand there's a construct to all of this. All right, there's a construct in all of this. You've got to do the work. You've got to capture the information. And then, and I meant to say, like, guys, at the bottom, right, you can capture all of this, right, which you've already been working through in that last section. Just get it, and you're going to create one of these script sheets for every piece of messaging that you're going to do. But the fact that you now have all of the information, you can just pull the pieces that you want to talk to your client. And typically what we're going to talk about is, or what we're going to do is, your messaging is normally going to be talking about a fear or two fears, right? Looking at what can happen, telling them what can happen if they take the right action, what can happen if they take the wrong action, what the false problem looks like, the solution they're applying to that false problem, why it's wrong, and why they should be talking to you. Like, what is the real solution? Like, what should they be doing? If you use this the right way, if you use it the right way, I swear you're going to have so much access to messaging that you'll never wake up on a Monday or a Tuesday going, I don't know what to write about today. Like, I don't know what to send out to our prospects today. Now, the last piece of this, right, is what we call the GLF. And I am really going to roam through this. Now, they tell us we have three brains, right? We all have three brains, right? Neocortex, which deals with logic, the middle brain that deals with emotion, and then the amygdala, right? The amygdala is decision making. That's your fight or flight, right? So we've got three brains, and we have to be able to write messages that can talk to all of these three brains, right? Yeah, no. Trust me, the shit works, right? Now, here's how it all works. You want to create the GLF sequence, and GLF is simply this. It's gain, it's logic, and it's fear, right? All of our messaging has, what do you have to gain? It has logic tied to it, but also here's what can happen if you don't do the right thing. So that's gain, logic, fear. Okay? So when we talk about gain, what they tell us is with the amygdala, for instance, right? So the amygdala is focused on self-interest. That's the word I'm looking for, right? So the amygdala, let's see if we can do this, right? Self-interest. So we need to appeal. Interest. We want to appeal to people's self-interest, right? What's in it for them? Typically, FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. That's a big one. Right? That's really a big one. The other part of the gain is making something very personal. And, you know, when we do things that are personal, typically we'll do a survey or we'll do a quiz, right? We're asking questions, right? Something that's directed at them, getting information. On the logic side, right, we want to have some level of authority, right? Now, authority just might be, hey, someone famous does this. Someone famous uses this. Someone famous has used this, right? And if we build authority into it, it gives it credibility. But in our brain, right, in the brain that deals with logic, which is your neocortex, it's looking for data points. right? What it's looking for is there enough data in this message for me to go, yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? And then last one is fear. So in the fear part, what are we looking at? Well, typically an event, right? Or a story. What do I mean by this? Well, if we're going to talk about fear and we're going to talk to fear, we're talking about some bad event that could happen, all right? Some bad event that could happen if they don't take appropriate action. We could, in our messaging, also add in a story that takes people through like the hero's journey. Someone was doing this, right? They did this. It was getting bad, bad, bad. They took an action. Suddenly their life changed, right? So you can take them through the hero's journey. But you want to be looking at all of this as you write your messaging and figuring out how can I incorporate some self-interest and or something personal to talk to the gain. How do I invoke authority or data points to appeal to the logic? And then how do I install an event, a bad thing that could happen, or a story that walks them through something that they can relate to? Now, as I said, we go through this in a lot more detail when we in the Accelerate program. People always say, I love to play golf, right? I love to play golf. And people always say, like, your grip on a golf club is singularly like one of the most important things in the golf swing is your grip, because it's the thing that connects you to the club, right? It's the thing that connects you to the club. And if that connection isn't there properly, doesn't matter how beautiful a swing you've got, you're never going to connect with the ball. I'm going to tell you that's what messaging is in your business. Your messaging is the thing that connects you to the outside world. It connects you to your prospect. So if the only messaging that you're putting out is, hey, buy my stuff now, right? That's not creating connection. So what we want to do is our messaging has to evoke an emotion. Your messaging has to talk to your ideal client, your prospect, in a way that is completely in sync with how they are emotionally. This does that. So if you work through that process the best you can, right, you're going to start to create really, really good messages, things that really do connect to a real emotional level with your prospects, and that is going to help them gain trust in you. So there you go, guys. Right? Quick. I say quick, it was 20 minutes plus. But yeah, that's how we do it. If you really want to do a deep dive in this stuff, let me know. We can jump on a call, leave it in the comments. I'd love to know what you think about what I've just taken you through. So please make the comments. And if you've got questions, also put them in the comments and I'll get back to you. So there you go. Hey, this was fun. Love it. Can't wait till the next one. Going to figure out how to make these a little bit shorter, but I think they're valuable, right? I think you get value from listening to this and watching this. So yeah, I can't wait to talk to you next time. Okay. Thanks, guys. And yeah, go start your messaging. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Talk soon.